Hello, everybody, and welcome to the British Hydrological Society's Professional Development Month for hydrologists. I'm going to give it another minute for people to join, and then we'll kick off. Just waiting for the clock to tick over to 2 minutes past, so give people a chance to join us, which is done now. And here I am. I'd like to welcome you to the British Hydrological Society Professional Development Month, and to the last in the series of our webinars. We're delighted to have you here with us today, and my name is Joe Pearce. I'm the president of BHS, and I'm joined today by Emma Cross, who's chair of our BHS Education and Careers Subcommittee, who've brought this together, the event today. We're especially pleased also to be joined by the Royal Geographical Society. It's the focus of today's webinar. I've got a warm welcome for our guest speaker today, Alice Wilson from RGS, and later on we'll also hear from Claire Waller, a practicing hydrologist within the Environment Agency. And before we begin, I just want to draw your attention to the items on the right-hand side of the screen. We suggest you turn off your camera and microphone. Our intention is to upload the recording to our BHS YouTube afterwards. We'll also have question and answer sessions later, so please do use the Q&A function. The chat's turned off, so please use the Q&A function throughout the presentation to type in your questions and to look for any other information. There'll also be opportunities to raise your hand during the Q&A sessions. And just a reminder that we will be recording today's session. Next slide, if we could. Thanks, Alice. Today's session is part of our role in the British Hydrological Society, holding regular meetings and events, sharing and promoting hydrology, driving discussion and building collaborations. As well as producing hydrology-related communications, we promote careers and education in hydrology, and we want to support the development of all hydrologists. Next slide, if we could. Thanks, Alice. The plan for today. We'll run through this plan for today's webinar. We're going to begin by explaining why we're hosting this Professional Development Month for hydrologists. And following that, we're going to hear from our guest speaker, Alice, who tell us about the society, the RGS, and the steps to accreditation as a Chartered Geographer, and the advantages it brings. And that's going to be followed by the Q&A session. Then we're going to hear from Emma Cross. No, we're not. Then we're going to hear from Claire Waller with reflections on gaining chartered status. And we'll have the opportunity for some more questions. And finally, we'll do a forward look, next steps and wrap up. Now I'm going to hand over to Emma. Thanks.
That's great. Thanks so much, Joe, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm Emma Cross. I'm a BHS trustee and chair of the Education and Careers Subcommittee. So I work as a water resources hydrologist in the Environment Agency, and I achieved my charterships over 10 years ago. So why a professional development month? Well, this is something new for us as a society. And one of our key aims is to explain why chartership matters, what it can offer to you as a hydrologist. We also want to outline the different routes to chartership so you can begin to think about which pathway might be right for you. And as a society, we're committed to strengthening our connections with the professional bodies that award charterships. So it's fantastic to be working with the Royal Geographical Society today, but it's also been great to be working with CIOM, the Institution of Civil Engineers and the Royal Meteorological Society. And finally, we want to support you in taking your next step with your professional development, whether that means starting an application now or simply understanding what you might aim for in the future. Next slide. So through past work, BHS has identified 6 chartered pathways for hydrologists. These are Chartered Engineer, C.Eng, Chartered Environmentalist, C.Env, Chartered Scientist, C.Sci, Chartered Meteorologist, C.Met, Chartered Geographer, C.Geog, and Chartered Water and Environmental Manager, C.Wem, or C.Wem. So today's focus is on Chartered Geographer awarded by the Royal Geographical Society. Now, you might notice one title is missing, and that's Chartered Hydrologist. BHS has explored this in the past, but we found it was not possible. And this is because to grant a charter title, an institution must hold a royal charter from the Privy Council, which is a government office. So that's our setting of the scene. So it's now time for us to hear from Alice. So Alice, that's great, thank you. So before I welcome Alice, a reminder that there will be an opportunity to ask questions at the end of Alice's talk. So please do type your question into the Q&A function, and you can post anonymously as well. There will also be an opportunity to raise your hand around that time. So without further ado, welcome to Alice. Thank you so much for being here with us today, and I'll hand over to you. Thanks again, Alice.
No worries. Hi everyone. Thanks Emma and Joe for the kind words and the introduction. Just to introduce myself again, my name is Alice. I'm the Professional Officer for Chartered Geographer at the Royal Geographical Society. So yeah, I'm essentially here to talk to you today about Chartered Geographer or C.Geog, as well as the wider professional support we can offer you as hydrologists and professional geographers. So I'll get started with a little bit about us at the Royal Geographical Society, or our full name, the Royal Geographical Society with the Institute of British Geographers. So we're a learned society and professional body for geography. And founded in 1830, as you can imagine, have changed a lot in that time. We are a world leader in advancing geography and supporting its practitioners in the UK and internationally. So our core purpose is to advance geographical science, and we achieve this through supporting geographical research, education, fieldwork and expeditions, as well as by advocating on behalf of the discipline and supporting geographers in professional practice. So as you will all hopefully know, geography, both human and physical, underpins so much important work across different organisations, sectors, industries and roles. And a huge part of what we do is about providing recognition for the importance of those geographic skills and for those who use them. So we're involved in lots of work in various areas. If you have any questions about what we do in geographical research, education, fieldwork and expeditions, policy or public engagement, please do drop us an email. But for today, we'll be focusing on Chartered Geographer and the wider professional support that we offer. So before going into C.Geog in more detail, I thought it would be helpful to start with a brief overview of the support we offer, just to hopefully clarify that a little bit. But essentially, we support professionals across all career stages. And that includes those just starting out at a graduate level, right through to chartership and beyond. And that support is there regardless of whether you're already chartered with us, if you're planning to become chartered with us in the future, or have no intention of becoming chartered with us at all. There are lots of ways we can support you in your career, whatever your pathway looks like. So our support includes a wide range of CPD opportunities, which are designed for professionals at every stage. So this includes professional and schools outreach, as well as opportunities to network with other geographical professionals and chances to connect with both people working in your own specialism and those working across the wider discipline. And we also run a large programme of events, which I'll come back to later in the session. And of course, we offer the Chartered Geographer or C.Geog accreditation. And this is our professional accreditation, which recognises an individual's competence, experience and professionalism in applying geographical knowledge, understanding and skills in their professional practice. And to apply for Chartered Geographer status, you will need to demonstrate the C.Geog framework of competencies, which underpins all of our work with professionals. And achieving C.Geog recognises that you're actively applying these skills and that you've done so consistently throughout your professional practice. But then for those of you who aren't yet eligible for C.Geog, but are perhaps planning to apply in the future, we also offer the professional pathway to Chartered Geographer. And this is designed for those with 0 to 6 years of professional experience in those years preceding eligibility for chartership, and provides structured support as you work towards chartership. And again, I'll be talking in a bit more detail about what this pathway offers shortly. So I mentioned the Chartered Geographer framework of competencies, and essentially these are central to everything we do in supporting geography professionals. So I thought it would be quite good to start off with these, and then hopefully we'll pull these themes throughout. But they are integral to both applying for and maintaining Chartered Geographer status. So achieving C.Geog status provides that formal recognition that you're applying these competencies consistently and effectively in your professional practice. But again, it's important to stress that these competencies don't only apply to those pursuing chartership. They underpin all of our work with geography professionals, and our CPD offer, for example, is designed to support you in developing and applying these competencies in your day-to-day work, whether or not you're currently working towards C.Geog status. I'll run through each very briefly, but a good piece of advice is that if you are considering applying for Chartered Geographer status, it's a really good idea to make sure that each competency is really clearly evidenced in your application. So you should use specific examples that show how you've applied them in your practice, and refer directly to the language of the competencies when writing your application. But I'll run through these quickly. So the first is applying geographical skills, knowledge and understanding, which is essentially bringing that geographical insight to your professional practice, both systematically and creatively, and making those reasoned judgments. The second is innovation, so demonstrating how you offer self-direction and originality in using and developing geographical skills, knowledge, approaches, concepts and ideas. Innovation isn't necessarily reinventing the wheel. This can be how you've streamlined existing processes, identified new ways to enhance those existing methods, or new business opportunities, etc. Our third one, and perhaps quite an obvious one, is acting professionally. C.Geog is a professional accreditation in as much as it's a geographical one, and this is about demonstrating an understanding and commitment to professional standards. So for example, taking the initiative to plan and implement tasks to achieve goals, demonstrating leadership and working effectively with teams. And then the last one, but an important one, is communicating and influence. So how have you communicated with clarity and enthusiasm to different audiences? How have you influenced colleagues and other professionals? And how have you listened to and accepted the value of different views? So again, our C.Geogs show how they're systematically and consistently applying these in their work. But our wider CPD support helps you implement and apply these as you work toward chartered status. So moving on to actually a bit more information on Chartered Geographer. So Chartered Geographer is an internationally recognised professional accreditation for geographers and those using geographical knowledge, understanding and skills in the workplace. So the title of charter status, which we are authorised to offer by the Privy Council, gives you the equivalent professional standing to many other chartered professions. So if you have chartered engineers, chartered environmentalists on your team, it's the equivalent professional standing. And in short, it's a really great way to demonstrate your geographical mindset. So our framework competencies lets you demonstrate your technical and subject depth, but also focuses on how those skills are adding value to your employer and your sector through your ability to innovate, to deliver professionally, and to communicate with and influence your colleagues. So Chartered Geographer also provides something of a professional home. This is to say that it allows you to develop in your career, to switch specialisms, develop new technical focus and explore different sectors while remaining a geographer at your core. If your career changed direction, our framework supports you in that. And that's to say that Chartered Geographer is a milestone in your career and not an endpoint. We expect to see that continuing professional development and that continued reflection going forwards. So there are many benefits of Chartered Geographer status to both you as a professional and to your employer. So firstly, charter status independently confirms your competency and your professionalism in the use of geographical knowledge, skills and understanding. And it showcases your professionalism and your commitment to upholding the highest professional standards to your employers, your clients, your peers and the public. And this can, of course, give you a professional edge when it comes to job interviews or promotions. And additionally, you can apply it for one of our C.Geog post-nominals to acknowledge your depth of expertise in a specific field or sector. I'm just going to jump back through a few slides. You can see the post-nominals we have here, which are C.Geog Geomorph, which I imagine might apply to a few of you here today as hydrologists, or C.Geog GIS or GI for Geographic Information System Specialists, C.Geog EO for Earth Observation Specialists, C.Geog Econ for Economic Geographers, as well as C.Geog Teacher for those working in the education sphere. But just jumping back, the accreditation also offers the support to structure your own professional development and learning. So as I mentioned, Chartered Geographer is a milestone in your career and not an endpoint. We require all C.Geogs to complete 35 hours of CPD annually, and this ensures that you're up to date with developments in your discipline, and in doing so helps to support your future career progression. So ensuring that you're doing those 35 hours of CPD annually really ensures that you're at the forefront of your profession and signpost that you're doing that continuing development to your employers, peers and the public. In addition to this, as a C.Geog, you'll become part of the Chartered Geographer network. So you'll be given the opportunity to meet with peers at our annual events, both in person and online. And all Chartered Geographers are also welcome to use our members room to work and host small meetings in London. And other rooms will also be available at the Society for C.Geog hosted events and meetings. But I'll go into a bit more detail on the events and the networking events that we offer shortly. And then finally, all Chartered Geographers are fellows of the Society. So fellowship is a requirement of charter status. If you're not already a fellow, you have the option to apply for this alongside your Chartered Geographer application. I'll cover that in a bit more detail in my next slide. But fellowship also gives you a really rich variety of benefits, including access to lectures and events, including our popular Monday night lecture series, as well as our online and print resources, including all society journals, for example, the Geographical Journal, as well as books, online resources, a huge amount of archives and maps as well. But moving on to the actual eligibility and application process for Chartered Geographer. And from about this point onwards, you're going to see a lot of QR codes dotted throughout, because I think that's probably the easiest way if you want to access any of this information in a bit more detail. So do feel free to scan those as I run through. But the application process for Chartered Geographer is relatively straightforward. As I mentioned, all Chartered Geographers must be fellows of the Society. I'll cover how you can apply for fellowship through your application in a minute. But in terms of eligibility, to apply for Chartered Geographer status, you're required to have 6 years of professional experience if you have a geography or related degree. If you have a relevant master's degree, this can count for 1 year of professional experience. And if you have a PhD, this can count for up to 5 years, of course, depending on the length of study. And then if you do not hold a geography or related degree, you're required to have 10 to 15 years of experience, which is judged at the discretion of our assessors. If you have any queries on your eligibility, if you're unsure as to whether your degree counts as geographically relevant or not, do drop me an email. My email will be coming up towards the end of this presentation, but it's C.Geog@rgs.org. You can send across your CV to me and I can advise a bit more in a bit more detail about your eligibility. So any queries, please do reach out. I'm happy to advise. But I'll go into the actual application process. So to apply for C.Geog, you're required to submit a few documents as part of your application. The first one being a long form professional CV. And we ask that your CV is geographically tailored, which essentially means we want to see how each of your roles have applied those geographical knowledge, understanding and skills throughout your career to date. We also want to see the dates clearly signposted for each role, in preferably the month and year that you started a role and the month and year that you left a role, just so we can ensure that those eligibility requirements are clearly met. And of course, do include any academic or professional qualifications that you have as well. We also request that you submit a 3-year record of CPD. We do have an RGS CPD template, which you should actually be able to access through the QR code there. But this basically aligns all the CPD with the C.Geog framework of competencies, which is both helpful for our assessors to see that you're meeting those competencies, but also helpful for you in yourself to see how you've met those competencies and plan ahead to perhaps meet any that you're not meeting as much in the coming years of CPD. So again, that's 3 years of CPD records, and for each CPD year, we expect to see 35 hours of CPD. We also request that you submit a professional impact statement. Our assessors will probably tell you that this is the most important part of your application. Of course, all aspects are important, but the professional impact statement really is your chance to make your case for Chartered Geographer status. A really good piece of advice is to clearly structure your professional impact statement around the C.Geog framework competencies, using the language of each competency in your statement, and making sure that each is really clearly evidenced with a specific example. I always suggest applicants maybe don't go too statement focused. What we want to see is evidence, how you've applied those competencies and how you went about doing that, and the positive outcome of applying those. We also request to see 2 professional references. Ideally, one of those should be internal to your organisation and the other should be external to your organisation, so from a past place of employment. And ideally, one of those references should be a current or former line manager. And then other than that, we also request that you provide an application form and checklist. These are just administrative forms, but it's worth mentioning because it's here that you indicate your optional post-nominal, should you choose one. So say if you're applying for C.Geog Geomorph, you indicate that in your application form and checklist. And also it's the application form where you indicate if you're also applying for fellowship. So that's not 2 separate applications. You can apply for fellowship through your C.Geog application by indicating that in the application form. So it's quite a quick run through. You can access all that information again on that web page in the QR code. So if I've gone through that really quickly, do take a bit of time to look through that on the web page there. But I'll also just give a bit of information on the assessment process. So firstly, when you apply for C.Geog, your application will be sent to me. Again, that email address is cgeog@rgs.org, but that will be shown at the end of the session. And I, as the professional officer for Chartered Geographer, will run through your application with you. I'll check over everything. And if there's anything that can be done to strengthen your application before assessment, I'll work with you to ensure that that's done and hopefully ensure a smooth assessment process. And when your application is ready for assessment, your application will go through a 2-stage expert peer review process. So you're first reviewed by a panel of initial assessors. It's worth mentioning here that if you are applying for a specialist post-nominal, the first stage assessors will be experts in that specific discipline. So if you're applying for C.Geog Geomorph, you will be assessed by C.Geog Geomorph assessors. And then once first stage assessment is complete, you will go through to second stage assessment for a final outcome to be given. And in both those stages of assessment, you may be requested for additional information. If you are, that's absolutely nothing to worry about. It's a very common part of the application process. And essentially, it's your chance to give any information that our assessors would like to see and feel that it will strengthen your application. And of course, all feedback will be constructive and given by me from the assessors. So that was a quick run through of the C.Geog application process. As I mentioned earlier, we do offer wider support for those working towards charter status, as well as for those who don't plan on applying for chartership through the RGS. I'll give a bit more information on the professional pathway to Chartered Geographer, which is essentially our early careers offer. And it's designed to support you through the early stages of your career as you work and plan towards Chartered Geographer status. So at the heart of the pathway is continuing professional development, or CPD. You will be sick of hearing me say CPD towards the end of the session, I do warn you. But rather than being something that you think about later, CPD is very much embedded from the very start of the pathway. So it encourages you to reflect on what you're learning, to develop those skills, and clearly demonstrate how you're growing as a professional geographer over time. So as if you join the professional pathway to Chartered Geographer, each year the professional pathway members are required to submit a CPD record for review. And this is approved by the professional team at the RGS and supported with feedback and guidance to help you make the most of your professional development. And keeping those records are really helpful in demonstrating to your employers, your peers and the public that you're actively and seriously investing in your professional growth and planning ahead. Oh, 1 second. Okay. So the pathway offers opportunities for professional engagement. So this includes networking with other geographers, expanding your knowledge through professional events and engagement, and accessing mentorship opportunities as well. So in the year preceding your Chartered Geographer application, so in year 5 or 6 of the professional pathway, you will be allocated a mentor who will guide you through preparing a strong application for Chartered Geographer and encourage you to take those next professional steps. And along the way, we'll provide quarterly communications that highlight different aspects of professional development. And these prompts are designed to help you focus on particular skills or competencies at different points in the year, and they evolve with you as you progress along the pathway. So support will hopefully be tailored to the professional stage of development that you're at. And overall, the pathway is aimed at embedding those professional framework competencies throughout your career and supporting you not only as you work towards Chartered Geographer, but also beyond chartership as your professional practice continues to develop. So just to clarify again, the professional pathway is for those who are at years 0 to 6 years professional experience as you work towards chartership. If you've already got those 6 years of experience with a geographical or relevant degree, you'll be likely eligible for chartership now. If you're unsure about which of those routes is best for you, whether you apply directly for Chartered Geographer status or if you join the professional pathway and work towards chartership in the future, again, do drop me an email. Here my email actually is for the first time, C.Geog@rgs.org. Do drop me an email with your CV and I can advise on which pathway is best for you. Aware that we've got a lot to cover. So I'm going to move on to the wider professional opportunities and events that we offer. So there are lots of ways you can engage with us. That could be through becoming chartered, but just as importantly, again, you don't have to be chartered with us to engage with us, or even consider yourself a geographer. Of course, geographical roles are incredibly interdisciplinary. To get involved, one of the main ways people engage with us is through our events. We host over 400 events every year. I think it's actually a lot more than that every year when you take into consideration our regional events as well. But many of them are for free and they cover a huge range of topics. These include things like geospatial intelligence, habitat mapping, urban planning, and much more. And these do take place both online and in person. So there are many ways that you can join in. And if you can't attend live, you can also catch up through our talks on demand, where recordings of past events are available. It's also really worth checking what's happening locally. Of course, the Royal Geographical Society is based in London, but we have a huge regional network. So do have a look what's happening in your area, which you can access through our website. And another key way to engage is through our professional practice groups, or PPGs. So these groups exist to support and promote the specific areas of geography through professional practice. And they're a really great way to bring people together, whether that's through networking and knowledge exchange events, mentoring opportunities, or sharing best practice resources and keeping members up to date with developments in the field. So at the moment, we have 2 active professional practice groups, being the Disaster Risk Management PPG, as well as the Small and Medium Enterprise PPG. And just last week, for example, we hosted the Geospatial Intelligence for Crisis Response in collaboration with the Disaster Risk Management PPG. And it was a really excellent symposium that brought together people and researchers and practitioners across crisis response. So if you're interested in getting involved in one of our PPGs, if you're interested in starting one yourself, do reach out. We'd love to hear from you. But I'll move on as well to our professional development that we offer. We offer a really wide range of CPD opportunities. Of course, this includes our events, but we also have many kind of more specific professional insights programs. And these sessions are designed specifically to support your professional development. So whereas many of our events are perhaps more specialist focused, our professional insights is just more broadly for geographical professionals. And they're designed to specifically support you in your professional development and focusing on those practical skills, behaviours and knowledge that employers value. So the professional insight webinars cover topics such as maximising opportunities for career development, reflecting on and planning your CPD effectively, as well as using mentoring to support your career progression and acting professionally, including ethics and codes of conduct. And these sessions are particularly useful if you're working towards charter status, but they're also valuable if you're not, because they focus on real-world professional practice. So again, while our events tend to be more special interests spanning different technical focus, our professional insights offer more cross-sector careers and advice. So hopefully there'll be something there for everyone. I'm coming towards the end of my section now, but I'll just cover some of the outreach opportunities that we offer. Again, these are a really genuinely rewarding part of your career, and it's formally recognised by many employers and professional accreditations, including Chartered Geographer status, as valid continuing professional development. So one of the main ways you can get involved with our outreach is through our webinar programme, which we run in collaboration with the Society's education team. And a core aim of this outreach is to show that young geographers, what a career in geography actually looks like, and crucially how geographical skills, knowledge and understanding are applied in real-world challenges across different sectors. So most of our webinars are built around a single theme and feature a panel of 3 or 4 professional geographers working in different roles and industries. And this helps students see the breadth of career pathways available. And past themes have included hazard and crisis response, coastal landscapes, the energy transition, global governance, a really rich variety of themes. And if you'd be interested in taking part, do scan the QR code there to see how you can get involved. Or please do reach out to our professional team at the RGS, and we'd love to talk to you. We've still got a bit more to cover. So I think what I'll do is open up our first Q&A before moving on to hearing from Claire. But again, here is, you can find some more ways to connect with us. We have the C.Geog LinkedIn page here, as well as how you can sign up for our professional news and events. And again, my email is displayed there, cgeog@rgs.org. Emma, I'll pass back to you.
Great stuff. Thank you so much, Alice. Fantastic. Such an informative talk. And I personally really like the use of QR codes. Fantastic, but a really informative and insightful talk. So thank you so much. Now, the good news is, Alice, that we actually do have some questions that have been asked in the Q&A chat. So I will start with those before asking if anybody would like to ask a question live by raising their hands. And while I'm asking the questions in the chat, feel free to add more questions to the chat. Keep the questions flowing. Great. Well, let's go to our first question then. So here we go, Alice. Do you offer other membership levels other than C.Geog? If so, should you have this before applying for chartership? Thanks, Alice.
That's a really great question. We do offer fellowship without C.Geog status. So if you're interested in becoming involved with our work, but not specifically Chartered Geographer status, do consider fellowship. It gives you a really rich access to those events, those lectures, as well as our online and print resources, and is essentially just a really good way to get involved with the RGS and our work. So do consider just fellowship if that applies to you. We also offer associate fellowship. So if you're recently graduated, I think it's within 5 years of graduating for associate fellowship, which comes at a reduced rate. So off the top of my head, I think associate fellowship is £64 annually, whereas full fellowship is £142 annually. If I'm wrong, I'm only slightly wrong. But yeah, so do consider fellowship.
That's great. Thanks, Alice. Thank you. So you mentioned regional events, and I think you alluded to this, but do you actually have regional branches? And if so, like how do you get to know more about them? You have kind of alluded to it, but maybe just a bit more detail. That's great. Thanks, Alice.
Yeah, we do have regional events, regional branches. We have regional networks. We don't exactly have regional kind of buildings or bases outside of London, but we have a really strong kind of network of chartered geographers across the UK. So the best way to find your local RGS network, I think, would be to look at our professional opportunities and events. You can filter that webpage to show events near you, so do have a look. But yeah, hopefully that answers that question.
Great stuff. Thanks, Alice. So I'm just going to pause at this point and just see whether anybody would like to ask a live question of Alice. So if you would like to do so, then please raise your hand. Thank you. Okay, great. I can't see any raised hands, so I'm going to return to the Q&A chat. And just a reminder, please do post more questions in the Q&A chat. We've got time for more questions. So here's the next one, Alice. So your professional reference doesn't need to come from someone who is C.Geog. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. It just needs to be someone who can speak to your actual geographical and professional impact. They don't even technically have to be a geographer themselves. Of course, it's helpful when they speak about your how you apply geographical knowledge, understanding and skills if they've got that base of knowledge to learn from themselves. But they don't have to be chartered geographers. They just need to have experience of your professional impact.
Great stuff. Thanks, Alice. And just the second part of that question was, do you have templates for references?
Yes, we do. And I'm happy to share that. I don't know what the best method of that would be, or you can download that from our website when you go on the C.Geog application webpage. But again, it's just to mention there, probably a good point to mention it, is all references should be submitted directly to me from your referees. So just helpful to mention that now.
Okay, great. So in other words, it's their responsibility to submit their reference to you. Yeah.
Yes.
Great, lovely. Thanks, Alice. Fantastic. We've just got a couple more questions come in. Great timing. Thank you. So the next question is there any guidance on the best time to apply for Chartered Geographer status? And just a bit of an add-on to that, should you begin the application process early in your career while you're gathering work experience in CPD, or is it recommended to apply once you feel you've got what you need to apply for to achieve it? Sorry, got a bit muddled with my words there.
Both
And
really
the
good
person says
questions.
thank you. Okay.
Both great questions. There's no specific best time to submit a C.Geog application. Applications are submitted and assessed on a rolling basis. If successful, your application will be formally approved at one of our council meetings, which happen every 2 to 3 months. But whenever your application is approved by our assessors, it just basically goes for formal approval at the nearest council meeting. So again, just to reiterate that, there is no specific timeline as to when you should submit a C.Geog application. Just submit it when you're ready. In terms of when you should start working on your C.Geog application, that's a really good question. I'd say do actively start your CPD log early on in your career, and that's a really big part of what our professional pathway does. If you can start getting that CPD together, by the time you're eligible for Chartered Geographer, you'll have a really useful base of kind of knowledge, of stuff that you've partaken in to be able to put into your application. And I'm sure that will really clearly filter through, and that will be really visible when you actually get your application together. You've been taking it seriously for the past few years. So that's my advice. If you're early careers, just start on your CPD log, whether you join the professional pathway or not. Because it's really helpful for you when it comes to submitting an application for chartership, but it's also really helpful just for you as you develop in your career, as kind of a diary of everything that you've done to date. So yeah, that's my answer to that question.
That's great, thanks, Alice. And just to be clear, when you're talking about CPD, you're talking about if you go on like secondment assignment, mentoring and coaching, kind of leadership,
Absolutely.
all those kind of things, yeah, as well as learning and development, yeah. So it's the full
so
spectrum.
for example, attending a session like today, I would absolutely count that as CPD. And yeah, there's a really good website, web page on the RGS website, which is along the lines of you're probably doing way more CPD than you realise, which just I find really useful in clarifying what actually counts as CPD. So do have a look at that if you want some more guidance around that.
Great stuff, thanks, Alice. So we've got 3 more questions to go through. So the next question is, can my PhD supervisor, board chair, qualify as a referee?
Absolutely. We consider completing a PhD as professional experience, and who better place to talk about how you've applied geographical knowledge, understanding and skills than your PhD supervisor. So absolutely they can count as one of your referees.
Great stuff. And the same person has also asked, how can one find a referee outside one's work organisation? I think that's perhaps going back to the 2 references.
Yes. So what we suggest is if you have a past employer, if you've moved organisations in the last few years, to request a referee from someone from your previous organisation. If it's the case that you've been at the same organisation for a good number of years, you may find it difficult to get an external reference. It's always advised to have an external reference, but our assessors understand that that's not always possible. And if that applies to you, just do feel free to reach out directly, and I can hopefully advise further on your specific circumstances.
Okay, that's great. Thanks, Alice. I'm sure that'd be really helpful to that person. That's also helpful to me as well, because I've only ever worked for the Environment Agency and for 21 years. So I was thinking, if I want to go for this, I'm not too sure how I'd achieve that. So that's really great. Thank you to that person for raising that question. And then the final question they asked was, do referees have to have earned chartership before they qualify to provide a reference? And I think you've already clarified that actually that's not a requirement. So great, lovely.
Not.
Fab, thank you. Okay, so the next question is, what do you think is the best place to look to start a journey towards C.Geog chartered status? Thanks.
Good question. Again, I think I'll go back to starting a CPD log. I often suggest that if you are starting the application process, getting your CPD log together, if you haven't already got one, is probably the best place to start, because it just gives that bank of information that you can learn from. And then hopefully when it comes to writing your professional impact statement, you can see just kind of some interesting examples of how you've applied those competencies. Again, I would suggest just getting your CV up to date. What our assessors do like to see is your project experience. So if you've worked across a variety of projects, and again, there's no word limit on the CV, not like in the professional impact statement where there's a 1,000 word limit. So your CV is kind of a good opportunity to just kind of show the breadth of your career to date. And then again, hopefully when it comes to writing that professional impact statement, you can highlight those kind of key examples and draw them out in a bit more detail.
Great stuff. Thanks, Alice. So we've got a couple of questions left. I'm conscious of time. So, but just to say, Alice, somebody's just said thank you to you as well. They said it's a great presentation and that the process seems clearer, more straightforward than the other charterships we've covered in this seminar series. So they just say thank you. Okay, so great stuff.
Thank you.
Lovely, wonderful. So I'm going to hand over to Joe at this point before you press the play button, and we'll return to those other questions a bit later. Great stuff. Thanks, Joe.
Brilliant. Thanks, Alice, and thanks, Emma. Now we're really glad to be able to hear from Claire Waller, who's a practicing hydrologist in the Environment Agency. She was happy to pass on her experience of going through what Alice has outlined, but isn't able to be here with us today. So we're grateful to her for making a video recording, which we're going to play now. Claire isn't with us also to answer any questions, but if you do have any, put them in the Q&A. We'll either try and answer or we'll follow up afterwards. If you can press play for us. Thanks, Alice. that fantastic view was brought to us by Claire. We're really grateful to Claire for her view and experience on working and gaining accreditation with the RGS, and how she used her experience and applying what Alice had been saying throughout. There are a couple of remaining questions which we could go on to now, and I remind people that if you want to post them here or email them to Claire direct, then that's fine. If we cover the remaining questions that we didn't cover before, if I could read a couple out, there's one. And they are for you, Alice, I think.
Yeah, that's fine.
Can you speak some more on how the assessment is conducted?
Yeah, so your application will go through 2 rounds of assessment. The first round has 2 assessors, which will review your application in great depth. And again, these will be experts in your specific field or sector. So that is whether you apply for one of our optional postnominals or not. If you're working in a specific area and applying for C.Geog, then the assessors will be experts in that area or as closely aligned as we possibly can. And then the second stage assessment will kind of be a more general overview, serves as moderation of the first stage assessors, and that final outcome will be given. We advise that assessment usually takes between 12 to 14 weeks. Of course, that varies where additional information is requested, but essentially that's how long the application process takes. We sometimes get asked how many rejections we get. It's not really a very clear-cut answer I can give you, because before applications are rejected, they tend to be put on hold. And essentially that's an opportunity if the assessors feel that you can achieve chartership in the long run, but perhaps need to see some further evidence before chartership can be granted. The assessors will give advice on how you can continue to professionally develop and what you need to do to achieve charter status. And in that case, you'll just resubmit your application at the end of that hold period, or once you feel that you've adequately met that advice. And then your application will go back through to assessment for an outcome to be given. But I think that hopefully covers everything assessment-wise.
Fantastic. Yes, it feels like a bit of a 2-stage assessment for you today, Alice, with the 2 sets of questions.
Happy to.
And the last question that we have at the moment is another one. Are there any examples of professional impact statements, the type of thing that you might write on them, or expectations on it?
That's a really good question. Unfortunately, we don't actually have any examples, and that's because of the kind of the depth or breadth, more like, of professionals that we accredit. And we feel that if we were to have one professional impact statement published, we'd be kind of limiting what other people can write about. But of course, we want to hear what's specific to your role and sector, and the specific work that you do. What I would say is the best kind of template we offer. We do have a professional impact statement template, which again you can access on our webpage if you go onto the C.Geog application section of the RGS webpage, and that just gives a bit more in-depth guidance about what the assessors want to see. I really strongly advise that you structure your impact statement around the C.Geog framework competencies, making sure that your whole statement's in continuous prose, no bullet points basically, but just referring to the language of the competencies and including examples for each of those. And do include a statement as to why you wish to become chartered with us, because our assessors very much like to see that. And if you don't include it, they'll ask me to ask you for it. So.
That's brilliant. Yeah, you've given us such a good rundown of how to go about it and the sort of things to include and where to go for help. That's been an excellent rundown, and as somebody said, that it's a really clear presentation on how to gain the Chartered Geographer. Thank you so much, Alice. Thank you.
No worries at all. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. And if we move on to the next slide, please. So we're towards the end of the presentation now, and going back to the start of today's webinar, we explained that one of our key goals was to explain the benefits of chartership, and Alice did that really well for Chartered Geographer, and we hope we've shown this through the sharing of the information today. And this slide gives a recap of the advantages and the benefits from seeking chartership and becoming chartered. So there's professional recognition, personal development, career development, enhanced opportunities for wider networking, increasing fulfillment and motivation in your role, and definitely adding personal credibility. And I think definitely we've seen all of those today. Now I'm going to hand back to Emma.
Great stuff. Thanks, Joe. So next slide, please. So we just want to use this opportunity to do a shout out that it's also Chartered Week 2026. And we actually found out about this through discussions with RGS. So thank you to RGS. So just to very briefly say that Chartered Week is a national awareness week that aims to celebrate the power of chartered practice, to educate on the vital role chartership plays in our industries and professions, and to advocate the value of being chartered and the importance of exploring chartered potential and other registration pathways. And this year's Chartered Week is celebrating trusted professionals. So it's a really great opportunity to recognise those that are chartered and to think about how we use that to strengthen everything that we do in our workplaces. So next slide, please. So moving on to the next steps, we'd like you to reflect on what you've learned today and what your route to chartership might be. We'd like to know how you found today and how we might be able to support you with your professional development through a follow-up survey. So the link will be posted in the Q&A chat very shortly. We do plan to share the materials from our Professional Development Month, including uploading this recording onto YouTube. So please do keep an eye out on our website, but there's likely to be a delay. And if not already, then do please consider becoming a member of BHS and also RGS. Again, you'll find links in the Q&A. Next slide, please. So this is now the end of our Professional Development Month, and we really do hope that you've enjoyed it. And we've also included some other events here. So on the 17th of June, we are a co-partner for the Drought in the UK conference. So please do keep an eye out on our website for further information. And then from the 2nd to the 4th of September is our BHS 16th National Hydrology Symposium at the University of Leeds. It's entitled Reimagining Hydrology for a Changing World. And we opened for abstracts even on the 2nd of February, and the closing date for abstracts for posters or talks is Friday the 3rd of April. Registration for the actual symposium doesn't begin until the 2nd of March. To find out more, please see a link in the Q&A. And just to say that we've been asked to do a shout out for Women in Flood and Coastal Erosion Risk Management Group, also known as Women in FCERM. They're offering a mentoring programme, and applications for this mentoring programme for 26-27 opened on Monday and closes on the 22nd of March. So you should find a link if you want to find out more in the Q&A. So next slide, thank you. So we thought we'd send you on your way with an inspirational quote. And this one comes from Jason Hopkins, who's a senior innovation and research scientist at the Ordnance Survey. So let me read out this inspirational quote to you. Chartership helps describe to others who you are and how you act as a geographic professional. Being academically qualified for my role at Ordnance Survey is critical, but really only part of the story. Being a Chartered Geographer is recognition by RGS and your peers that I am also professionally competent. It is also a great catalyst for continuous development. Great stuff. So I'm going to hand over to Joe, and we're going to move on to our final slide. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Emma. I want to finish off by thanking everybody for joining us today. Thank you to our guest speakers, to Alice and to Claire for her recorded talk as well. And very much thanks to you too, Emma, and to Alex Scott and others who've been involved in organising today's event. Thanks to JBA Trust and Group for their use of Teams for this webinar that we've used today, and for the behind the scenes help for today's webinar. As we said, this is the last of the events in our Professional Development Month for 2026. We're really glad to have been able to work with CIWEM, Royal Met Soc, ICE, and very much with RGS today to give hydrologists a really good idea of the options for and routes that they can take and what's involved in gaining professional accreditation through chartership. We very much welcome your feedback, as Emma said, which will help us reflect and plan future events. Thanks again, and goodbye for now, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much.